Today in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is trafficking, racketeering, and more.
The both worlds. Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody talks about that project.
That's smooth under the rug.
Why?
Hold on tight, because this story just took a nosedive into the wildest depths imaginable. The Sean Diddy Combs trial, already shaping up to be one of the most explosive courtroom dramas in recent memory, has just been hit with a bombshell twist that no one saw coming. The star witness, the linchpin of the prosecution's case, has vanished into thin air. And if you think this is just some simple case of cold feet or second thoughts, think again. Whispers in the shadows suggest something far more sinister is at play, and all signs are pointing straight back to Diddy. This isn't just a legal battle anymore. It's a full-blown circus of secrets, power plays, and jaw-dropping revelations.
I want to mention one other quick thing. They can't find witness number 3 still. This is apparently an ex-girlfriend of Diddy's who was one of the alleged victims. And prosecution can't find her.
Right, I heard.
For months, this trial has been the talk of every corner of the gossip world, with its accusations of coercion, manipulation, and a lifestyle that can only be described as shockingly indulgent. But just when you thought it couldn't get any messier, here comes Jaguar Wright, dropping a bomb that has everyone reeling. According to her, the star witness, dubbed Victim 3 in the indictment, didn't just disappear out of fear or reluctance. No, the claim is that she was taken, allegedly, kidnapped, no less. Yes, you heard that right. Jaguar is out here alleging that Diddy's team orchestrated a covert operation to silence the one person who could blow his empire to smithereens. And let's face it, given the allegations swirling around him, this theory doesn't sound as far-fetched as it should. Just days before her sudden disappearance, Victim 3 had reportedly agreed to testify under her real name, a move that could have cemented her credibility and sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Up until that point, her identity had been a tightly guarded secret, known only to prosecutors and investigators. But the moment that veil of anonymity was lifted, she vanished, gone, no contact. Not even her lawyer could reach her. The timing is so suspicious it practically screams foul play. And while law enforcement is tiptoeing around the issue, refusing to confirm or deny anything, Jaguar Wright isn't holding back. She's pointing fingers, connecting dots, and calling out Diddy in a way that has everyone paying attention.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
Here's where things get even murkier. Rumors are swirling about the possible identity of Victim 3, and one name keeps popping up: Gina Huynh, a former associate of Diddy's who has her own history of tumultuous dealings with the mogul. Gina, who once made headlines for her public clashes with Diddy's other companions, has been eerily silent on social media lately. No posts, no stories, nothing. For someone who was once a vocal presence, her sudden radio silence is raising eyebrows. And let's not forget, Gina's been open in the past about the way she was treated during her time with Diddy. In an interview, she revealed that she faced emotional manipulation and even claimed that she was pressured into making life-altering decisions. The parallels between her story and the allegations in this trial are impossible to ignore.
You know, I suppose it could be coincidence. I don't think it's coincidence, and especially given the nature of the case.
Yes.
Because when you look at who is examining these various witnesses, you know, especially female alleged victims, of which there will be 4.
But here's the kicker. Jaguar Wright claims she has receipts. She didn't just drop this alleged kidnapping bombshell and walk away. She's hinting that there's evidence that could expose the lengths Diddy's team might have gone to in order to protect him. And if that evidence exists, well, let's just say it could blow this case wide open. So Jaguar's accusations have already sent shockwaves through social media, with fans and critics alike dissecting every word, every claim, every possible clue. The internet is ablaze with speculation, and the pressure is mounting on law enforcement to dig deeper into what really happened to Victim 3. Meanwhile, the courtroom itself is a powder keg waiting to explode. Jury selection has been a spectacle in its own right, with a parade of potential jurors being grilled about their knowledge of the case and their opinions on a laundry list of high-profile names. From Kid Cudi to Michael B. Jordan, the mere mention of these celebrities has added another layer of intrigue to an already chaotic trial. And then there's Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner, whose own allegations against him have loomed large over this entire saga. Her testimony alone is expected to be devastating, but victim 3's account was supposed to tie it all together, painting a picture of a long-term pattern of behavior that could seal Diddy's fate. Without her, the prosecution's case suddenly looks a lot less bulletproof.
The defense wanted to propose a question on, after the potential jurors filled out their questionnaire, have they seen any news media, any documentaries, anything just relating to a news medium, and whether or not they saw it in between them filling out the questionnaire to Monday morning when they saw, or when they go to jury selection.
But let's not forget, this isn't just about what happens in the courtroom. This case has become a cultural flashpoint, a battle of narratives playing out in real time. On one side, you have Diddy's team, spinning a story of consensual relationships and misunderstood intentions. On the other, you have a growing chorus of voices accusing him of exploiting his power and influence in ways that are as shocking as they are appalling. The stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Diddy faces the very real possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. But if he walks, the fallout could reshape the entertainment industry, leaving a trail of broken trust and unanswered questions in its wake.
A US judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
And then there's the question of what happens next. The prosecution is scrambling, no doubt working around the clock to figure out how to proceed without their star witness. Will they delay the trial, call for a mistrial, or do they have a backup plan, some ace up their sleeve that we don't know about yet? One thing's for sure, the drama's far from over. With every new revelation, every leaked detail, every whispered rumor, this case becomes less about justice and more about a battle for control. Control of the narrative, control of the truth, and ultimately, control of the future.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment, as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
So where does that leave us? On the edge of our seats, waiting for the next twist, the next turn, the next bombshell revelation that will send this story careening in a whole new direction. Because if there's one thing we've learned so far, it's that nothing is off the table. Not in this trial, not in this world, and certainly not when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs.
This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
And yet the rabbit hole just keeps going deeper. As the prosecution scrambles to figure out how to salvage their case without victim 3, whispers are surfacing that this might not be the first time key figures in Diddy's orbit have suddenly vanished at critical moments. There's a growing suspicion that this disappearance is part of a broader pattern, one that stretches back years, decades even, of silencing, erasing, and controlling anyone who dared to disrupt the carefully curated image of Sean Combs. And the more you dig, the more it feels like this isn't just a trial about a single man. It's about the power dynamics of an entire industry, the unspoken rules that let some rise to untouchable heights while others are left broken in their wake. Sources close to the case are alleging that victim 3's disappearance came after a series of escalating threats, subtle at first, then increasingly bold. Anonymous insiders are spilling to reporters that her agreement to testify wasn't just a brave decision, it was a dangerous one. What's more, there are murmurs that she began receiving unusual visitors in the weeks leading up to the trial. People who weren't supposed to know where she lived, people who weren't supposed to have her number, people who, according to one source, weren't there to talk. And now, in a jaw-dropping twist, there's even talk of surveillance. Claims that she was being followed, her movements tracked, her communications intercepted. If true, this is a whole new level of intimidation, one that feels ripped straight from the pages of a spy thriller. But this isn't fiction. This is real life. And the stakes could not be higher.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there.
Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team is playing it cool. Too cool, some might say. They're publicly dismissing the idea that Victim 3's sudden vanishing act has anything to do with their client, but behind closed doors, let's just say that the whispers are getting louder. Observers in the courtroom have noted the almost smug demeanor of his attorneys, as if they know something the rest of us don't. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. There's a rumor circulating that Diddy's team had already prepared a legal motion to exclude Victim 3's testimony days before her disappearance. Coincidence? Maybe. But in a case this high profile, where every move is scrutinized and nothing is left to chance, it's hard not to wonder if this was all part of the plan.
Which again, the judge kind of made this a point too, talking about, okay, well, if we're going to continue to do sidebars each and every single time that a prospective juror has to talk about a sensitive topic, that could take up a lot of time. But again, the defense and the government both seem pretty confident that they'll still be able to kind of get it going at a quick pace. This isn't unusual to do in these types of high profile cases. So that was pretty much just the topics about,
And speaking of plans, let's talk about the prosecution's next move, or lack thereof. With Victim 3 out of the picture, the prosecution is left scrambling to reshuffle their strategy. Their case was built on the idea of a pattern, a mosaic of stories that, when put together, would paint a damning portrait of Diddy's alleged actions. But now, that mosaic has a glaring hole, and it's not clear how they're going to fill it. Sure, they still have other witnesses lined up, including some whose accounts are just as explosive, but without Victim 3 to tie it all together, the narrative risks falling apart, and that's exactly what Diddy's defense team is counting on. They're already sharpening their knives, ready to pounce on any inconsistencies, any gaps, any hint of doubt that could sway the jury. It's a high-stakes chess game, and right now, it looks like Diddy's side is a move ahead. The prosecution, however, does have an ace up their sleeve, or at least they hope they do. There's been a lot of buzz around one of the remaining witnesses, someone who was once part of Diddy's inner circle during the peak of his career. This individual, whose identity has not been disclosed publicly, is said to have first-hand knowledge of the lifestyle that Diddy allegedly cultivated. According to leaked court documents, this witness is prepared to testify about a specific event involving multiple women who were reportedly coerced into humiliating situations during one of Diddy's infamous gatherings. The details are graphic, but what's especially chilling is the alleged psychological manipulation that took place, where Diddy reportedly dangled promises of career advancement to keep everyone in line. This witness, sources say, was a bystander to it all, someone who watched from the sidelines until they couldn't stomach it anymore. If this testimony holds up, it could be a major blow to Diddy's defense.
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not by accident.
But let's not forget Gina Hewen's allegations, which have resurfaced in the media ever since the trial began. Gina, though not officially part of the prosecution's case, has spoken extensively in interviews about her time with Diddy, painting a picture of a man who thrived on control and domination. She has described instances where she felt trapped emotionally and physically in a relationship that she claims was never truly consensual. In one particularly harrowing account, Gina recalls being publicly humiliated at an industry event, all because she didn't follow Diddy's rules. Apparently, these rules weren't just about appearances, they were about obedience. Gina's stories may not be part of the courtroom proceedings, but they've certainly influenced public opinion, adding yet another layer of complexity to this already convoluted case.
Today, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
And then there's Dawn Richard, former member of the girl group Danity Kane, whose accusations against Diddy surfaced earlier this year. Dawn has alleged that her time under Diddy's management was marked by a toxic environment, where fear was used as a tool to maintain control. According to her, Diddy had an uncanny ability to isolate people, ensuring that no one felt safe enough to speak out. He made you feel like you owed him everything, Dawn was quoted as saying in a recent interview. She has also claimed that the power dynamics were so skewed that even the smallest acts of defiance were met with swift and brutal consequences. While Dawn's story hasn't been officially tied to the current trial, it adds to the growing narrative of a man who allegedly built his empire on intimidation and exploitation. Cassie Ventura's allegations, of course, still loom large over this case. Though her civil lawsuit was settled last year, the details she revealed have set the tone for everything that's followed. Cassie alleged that she was subjected to years of mental and emotional manipulation, with Diddy reportedly controlling every aspect of her life, from her career decisions to her personal relationships. She is described feeling like a prisoner with no way out except to comply. And while Diddy's team has dismissed her claims as exaggerated, the fact that her lawsuit was settled so quickly raises questions. Did Diddy's legal team want to avoid a prolonged public battle? Or was there something even more damaging that they didn't want coming to light? Cassie's story may not be directly connected to the current trial, but it casts a long shadow, one that's impossible to ignore.
This is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
But let's not forget, this case isn't just playing out in the courtroom, it's unfolding in the court of public opinion too. Social media is on fire with theories, accusations, and debates. Some are calling for Diddy to be held accountable, while others are rallying to his defense, claiming he's being targeted unfairly. And then there are the conspiracy theorists, who are having an absolute field day with this. They're connecting dots that don't seem to exist, dragging in names and events that have nothing to do with the case, and generally muddying the waters in a way that makes it even harder to separate fact from fiction. But here's the thing. In an age where perception often matters more than reality, this noise could end up being just as important as what happens in the courtroom. Because let's be real, if the jury is paying any attention to what's happening online, it could influence how they see the case. And that's a variable no one can control.
As far as the plea offer that came up in the last hearing where the government said we did offer him a deal or an offer, I should say, and that he rejected it. And now it's official, and he said it to the court as well, too. He stood up, he said that he consulted with this about his attorneys, and it seems like they're planning, or not even seems like they are, they're rolling the dice by going to.
And then there's the question of who else might be implicated if this trial continues to unravel. Diddy's inner circle is already under intense scrutiny, with investigators reportedly looking into whether any of his associates played a role in Victim 3's disappearance, or in any of the other allegations against him. And let's not forget, this isn't the first time Diddy's name has been linked to allegations of misconduct. The difference now is that the stakes are higher, the spotlight is brighter, and the evidence, if the prosecution can present it, is more damning than ever. But the longer this trial drags on, the more it feels like a ticking time bomb, one that could explode in ways no one is prepared for.
And the judge said that, he seemed to be taking this kind of matter seriously. Now, I will just kind of preface it and say it. I haven't seen the documentary, but it's not out of the realm, or it's not out of the norm that she even went on this documentary as well, too, because she had previously gone on another documentary and kind of talked about her client's accusations against Diddy as well, too. So I was surprised that they brought up this particular documentary. Again, I don't know the extent of what she had said, but the defense seemed very annoyed in a way. And
so where does this leave us? Honestly, on the edge of one of the most shocking legal dramas we've seen in years. This isn't just about one man. It's about power, control, and the lengths people will go to protect their empires. The question now is, how far will this go? Will Victim 3 resurface? And if she does, what will she say? Will the prosecution find a way to salvage their case, or will Diddy's defense team succeed in tearing it apart? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for the broader conversation about accountability in an industry that has long been plagued by secrets? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Let us know what you think down below, and we'll see you in the next one.